Jason, mi hermano.
See?
Yeah. So I got this new Babbel app, and I'm brushing up on my foreign language. And wait a minute, I've got an idea.
What would that idea be, John?
Joe?
Joe. This is only the 70-something show we've done. I mean, one of these episodes, I'll get your name right.
We should do a show.
Yes.
About siblings.
Oh, I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Let's do it.
Vinyl brothers and sisters, we're coming at you with a spectacular show celebrating siblings.
And there are a bunch of them in music.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You start looking at the lists that are out there and it's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
For sure. So I didn't really struggle at all. I mean,
no.
there are plenty, and there are probably a lot that people don't know about. I mean, there are the higher profile ones,
right,
who seem to maybe operate, under a little dysfunction. And
there's always a lot of dysfunction with sibling bands
or any bands.
Yeah,
but and then there are other ones that kind of fly under the radar just because there's no noise made about it. Right?
I think if maybe the band, if the lead singer, because they're so front and center, if the lead singer is not one of the siblings, they fly a little more under the radar.
Yeah. But it's fun to, I mean, we could probably do 10 shows on sibling bands.
I probably brought enough records to do a couple.
Yeah, that's true. But we want to remind all of you brothers and sisters out there that we want you to go to the YouTube channel and check out all the whole smorgasbord of vinyl snacks, video snacks that Jacob Hansen and Keith Toombs have been nice enough to help us with. What else do we want to invite people to do, John?
Like the video and subscribe. As many of you, share with your friends. Get your neighbor to subscribe. Anybody.
The UPS guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? We also want you to comment on the videos and let us know what you think, and comment on our social media posts too. That way we can get a discussion going between all of us wacky, crazy vinyl people.
Yeah, and this one we know we're leaving out a lot because there are so many.
Yeah.
We just tried to mix it up and bring some stuff we don't usually talk about.
Yeah, which is the best thing about these shows. It's when you have enough vinyl that you can do that. It's a pretty cool thing. So what's your first one that you want to discuss today?
First on the list, Oasis, who just announced a reunion and a tour.
Like anybody's surprised by that. I think Oasis is the best one to start with because they're kind of the most currently the biggest sibling rivalry in music.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, it's been going on for years.
And I'm not surprised that they announced a reunion because there's just too much money left on the table every year that they don't play. But the other thing is when bands go away and come back, that means some serious ticket sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Noel and Liam Gallagher, who have been butting heads for years. And it's funny to see the discussion boards online with this. They're like, well, are they going to give ticket refunds when they break up?
There's a line in Vegas on how many shows they do and how long they stay together. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, because the news is that this beloved British band is getting back together, but it's being overshadowed by the craziness of their relationship over the years.
Yeah, so. And I think that probably will help drive them to continue the shows.
Yeah.
I think there's we're going to show, because they've always been kind of that way.
Yeah, they kind of thumb their nose.
Yeah, we do our own thing. Yeah. I don't know if there's a a documentary that's really pretty good.
I haven't seen it.
I mean, they early on in their career, like most bands that make it, they were touring like mad.
Mhm.
I mean, they were, spending years on the road.
Yeah.
So that, why wouldn't they hate each other?
Well, I mean, it can go one of a few different ways, but
Yeah.
it seems like it like veers into the dysfunctional
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Yes.
This is one of your favorite records, right?
Yeah, I love What's the Story, Morning Glory. The big song Wonderwall.
Mm-hmm.
I love that song.
Is Champagne Supernova on this too? Yes, it's the last song on there. I really like that one.
Yeah, I like the whole. It's a double because it came out in the CD era.
Yeah.
But I love everything about this album.
What year? Was it 97?
Ooh, let's see. The band formed in 91.
Okay.
And
Wow, they've been together a long time. Huh.
This album came out.
I could probably pick it up and look at it if the numbers aren't too small.
Yeah, give it a shot. 95.
Okay, 95.
Yeah. That's when their international success and peak in popularity came.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, they've announced the shows in the UK, right? There's like 10 of them. And they haven't announced shows officially in the US, right?
No.
Okay. But people are expecting that.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
And I've heard a story that when they played an armory in Indy, evidently somebody got hit by an object.
Oh, no.
Who was on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 3 songs in. And they just left.
Where at? What do you know where it was?
It was the Tyndall Armory.
Downtown?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was when they were, coming up.
Yeah.
They weren't huge yet.
Huh. That's interesting. And so 3 songs in. See you later.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you ever been to a show where somebody, and I've heard different variations of this, that somebody tried to run up on stage and give them something and they're like, that's it, we're done.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever been to a show where a band stopped playing because of something on stage? Or
I was at an Elvis Costello show that got interrupted by a fire alarm, and we had to leave the theater.
Yeah.
And it was a flood in the ground floor of at the Murat.
Nice.
And then we had to come back, get back in our seats, and the show starts up again.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I've never been at a show that like stopped like that, like somebody throwing something and then they throw a temper tantrum and walk off, because that is dangerous, man.
Yeah.
There is no reason why any artist should ever be afraid
No.
of being hit by something.
No, but we've seen it at plenty of shows.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's happened at shows that I've been at, and I can't remember which one exactly, but I went to a lot of those shows in the 80s, late 80s.
Small clubs, yeah.
Well, no, the big ones too,
Yeah.
MSA, and people were doing all kinds of crazy stuff, lighting off firecrackers, bringing hairspray and lighting
Security
with
had
flames.
their work
Yeah.
their work ahead of them.
Yeah.
At a show.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one, man. And I have I think it's the 3rd Oasis record, Be Here Now.
Oh yeah.
I brought it. I'm looking at this opportunity to maybe see them if they can. I'm sure tickets are going to be crazy.
They're going to be crazy.
But I'm going to approach, because I've never really dug into their music. I'm going to look at this as an invitation to start learning about Oasis.
Yeah. I like Oasis quite a bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good one to start with. Nice big double album.
Yeah. I've always loved the cover of this.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very distinctive.
Yes.
And all of the artwork with their stuff kind of looks similar. It's got its own like look to it.
It always has a very geometrical look.
Yeah. And a lot of symmetry too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good one, man. I like it. Well, I'm going to start, if I can find the record. I'm going to start with probably the next most infamous set of brothers in rock and roll, and that would be the Robinson brothers in the Black Crowes. And this is their album Lions, and it came out in 2001. And in May of 2001, actually. And Lickin' was the first single off this, and Soul Singing is the big song that came from this record. I've always loved this one. This one, you know, they have their own sound, and to me, they kind of sound like an Americanized version of the Stones.
Yeah.
You know, with some Aerosmith in there, and just kind of that dirty, real, raw guitar, rock and roll. And, you know, as with many bands, the brothers that make up this band for years were at odds with each other, to the point where they had their own touring bands, and the Black Crowes were basically on hiatus. And, you know, they've come back together. They just put a great new album out, which I didn't bring because I don't have, believe it or not. But they were supposed to be opening for Aerosmith on Aerosmith's Peace Out tour.
Yeah.
And since Aerosmith canceled that, then Black Crowes have established their own tour, an extension of the Happiness Bastards tour. But, you know, I think it's well documented that Chris and Rich Robinson don't get along, but they've seemed to be able to hold it together for like the last 2-3 years since they've reunited. So,
well, and, you know, the good old American dollar speaks very loud.
Yeah.
I mean, because seriously, you know, these guys see that, hey, people want to hear our music,
mm-hmm.
and they're willing to pay for our music.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make some money.
Right. I mean, you know, old grudges disappear real quickly when those decimal points keep coming.
Yeah. You can have separate buses. It's fine.
Separate jets.
Yeah.
I've always loved the artwork on this too.
That one's cool.
The colors. It's kind of a tie-dyed throwback to the 60s, 70s look. But yeah, this there's really not much of theirs that I do not enjoy. But this, you know, Soul Singing is the big one. But yeah, there's 13 songs on this too.
Nice.
So, you know, this is still the CD era, 2000.
And is this
2001? Sorry.
Is this a double? It's got to be a double.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
13
then,
songs is just too many.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, who's the producer on this? Let's see. Don Was. Wow.
Oh.
I had
Another legendary producer.
Yeah.
He seems to have his fingers in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, especially Blue Note Records now. But yeah, if you get a chance, give this one a listen. It's pretty great. And you know, you and I saw the Black Crowes years ago, pre-breakup in Denver, and I don't think Chris Robinson said one. It was a corporate show, but at a pretty nice theater.
Yeah, it was a really good theater. He
didn't say a word. He
No.
came out and sang. Didn't say a word other than singing, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
They didn't seem to really be super into that show, but the music was good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. So who knows? Who knows what was going on then, right? And I think this is actually on pink vinyl.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
The colored vinyl's always.
Yeah,
It's a nice treat. I don't seek it out, but
Yeah.
I love it when I get it.
I do too. What's your next one, man?
Next on the list, this is an old friend, the Psychedelic Furs.
Yes.
The Psychedelic Furs it's basically Richard Butler, who is the lead vocalist, and Tim Butler on bass guitar. And they're still touring. They were just recently in Indy, or going to be in Indy. I can't ever remember the concert schedule around here. We're getting more shows than we've ever had since
Before COVID. I mean, since before COVID. I mean, there are more bands touring now.
Yeah. And I don't know if bands in general are just touring more, but
I think they are.
The Indy is becoming a more regular stop.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
It is cool. To a point, it's a detriment too, because there's such a flurry of people coming through all the time. It's hard to keep track, and it's hard for them to get traction on social media for the ads and stuff. Like bands will come through, and I'll be like, wait a minute, when were they here?
Yeah.
You know? But it's good. It's good that they're out there. It's just surprising to me that there's that much of a market, because it's expensive to go to a lot of shows.
It is. It's not like the old days where you can get a ticket for $15.
Right. I look at some of the old ticket stubs I have, and I'm like,
You're kidding.
Yeah, I think it was $15.50 to see Van Halen in 1986 with
Yeah.
Sammy Hagar. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something ridiculously low. But, that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
But it wasn't $400.
Very true.
So tell us about the Psychedelic Furs. This is their first one, right?
Yeah, this is their first one, and it's I've seen the Psychedelic Furs many, many times, and they're just one of those bands in the '80s. If you don't know the Psychedelic Furs, you probably know the song "Pretty in Pink" that was in the movie Pretty in Pink, and that kind of sent them to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And they were actually getting a little airplay, which was unusual for alternative bands in the '80s. And they formed in '77 in London, and they went through several phases, from art rock to new wave to hard rock. And this is the album that probably sticks with me the most, that I listen to a lot.
That's cool. I love the portraits on the back. That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And the colors.
Yeah,
are
it's
cool
just a
too.
good color palette.
Kind of reminds me of Typo Negatives.
Yeah.
Black and green. That's cool.
But this is a very this one is probably a little darker than some of their other stuff that became a little more poppy. This one's a little more, definitely post-punk.
Gotcha.
Has more of a post-punk sound, almost, I don't want to say, let's just go with post-punk.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have to define stuff.
Yeah, it just has a deeper, darker sound.
Yeah. Yeah. More emotive.
Yeah.
Emotional. Gothy?
That's what I was I'm like, I want to call
Maybe.
it. It has some tinge of gothiness.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so interesting that, in the late 70s and early 80s, all these bands were like bubbling up.
Yeah.
And how many different like versions of that kind of thing were going on. And,
Yeah.
And the record company has always been like, if one is good, then 1,000 is great. So they just, try to repeat the success of certain bands.
And all these bands that were coming up that became part of the new wave, they were getting a lot of tailoring from the record company.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, make your sound more like this. I mean, Ministry is the
example of that.
is the king example, because their first album was very new wavy, and Al's like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Have these brothers managed to keep it together the whole
Yeah.
time? So there's not like a rivalry?
No, there's never been a rivalry or
Drama in that regard? Well, they may be one of the only ones.
And let's see. So they had a hiatus. They didn't really break up, but they had a hiatus, and they formed a band. Richard and Tim Butler formed a band, Love Spit Love.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Which was
them.
actually had some traction.
Yeah, that's true.
In the
I totally
90s,
forgot
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so that's one of the things you don't even. But it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
The same sort of sound.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I always say I need to dig into the Psychedelic Furs. I think they were here like in the last 2 months or so.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's cool. That's a good one, man.
The Furs.
Well, we can't talk about bands with brothers without talking about the Beach Boys, the Wilson brothers, Carl, Dennison, Brian, and, Mike Love was their cousin. And the Wilson brothers' dad was like he was kind of a tyrant early on, and basically tried to steal song royalties from Brian. And there's a whole lot of drama, family drama going on there. But in the midst of all that drama is just some unbelievable music. And the harmonies that these guys sang, and obviously the surfing thing is where they broke out of, and then songs about cars, and but they have just, I've talked about Pet Sounds a few times, and I wanted to bring one that we don't talk about that much.
No.
It's Surfer Girl, And this came out September 16th, 1963. And it's the first album that officially credited Brian Wilson with production. It's also the first time in which he used a string section on The Surfer Moon and employed the Wrecking Crew session musicians on Hawaii and Our Car Club. And Al Jardine, who was an original guy, he had been replaced with David Marks in February 62. He contributed to the album and would soon rejoin the band full time. I just love the Beach Boys. My buddy Bill's dad was a car guy, and it kind of made me a car guy. So we would go to poker runs and, car shows, and inevitably we'd be listening to the Beach Boys either on 8-track or, cassette. And it's kind of strange because, when I was a little kid in the 80s, I'm listening to music from 20 years before then. Kind of weird. But the Beach Boys, man, there's so much good music there, and there's been drama with songwriting credits and things like that. But they're so timeless, so it doesn't surprise me that it kind of caught my attention when I was a young punk. This is the 75th Capitol 75th version of this. This is a great album.
Yeah, that's a good one. And it's impossible to talk about sibling bands without mentioning the Beach Boys, because that's it, true and true.
Yeah. And they've been, I think they were here early this summer, a version of them with Mike Love, and I think John Stamos was with them too, because he's an honorary Beach Boy now, which, okay. They're not necessarily the same as they were back then. But then, there was a short time when Brian performed because he really kind of got lost in drugs and different things. And then he wasn't performing, and he would produce the albums, but wouldn't perform live with the band. So interesting history.
Yeah, we could do a whole show on the Beach Boys for sure.
maybe we do. I mean, maybe a deep dive on one of these would be interesting too.
That would be fun.
Got your ears out there, Bill Hayes. What's your next one?
Next, how about we go down under?
Okay.
The Split Ends.
It's been a while since we have.
Yes. The Split Ends. And this band, there are a lot of different versions of this band. I mean, the era that I think everybody knows about is the Tim Finn, Neil Finn era, from 77 to 84. And that's kind of when the band really took off. And Neil Finn, of course, went on to be in Crowded House.
Yep.
And
then Fleetwood Mac. He toured with Fleetwood Mac.
That's right.
Too. Yeah, he took Lindsay. He was one of the people that took Lindsay's place. Mike Campbell from Tom Petty's band.
His voice is just amazing.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
And Don't Dream It's Over is Crowded House from their first album. But man, what a great song.
And I did not know this, but they worked with the Beatles engineer, Jeff Emmerich.
Oh, did they?
From June to July in 77.
Cool.
For their third studio album.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Huh. Yeah, this is... I have seen this record before.
Yeah. True Colors.
I don't think you see it a lot, but it's pretty distinctive.
Yeah, and I love this record because there's etching on the vinyl.
Oh, is there? That's cool.
And it's a fun thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll show it.
Yeah.
Let's show it. Just
Why not?
Because it's such a unusual,
different kind of thing.
I picked this up in Canada.
Did you really? Recently? Oh no, it's been a while.
So I don't know if it's showing up or not. Let's see what you can do.
Is that showing up, Jacob? Yay? Nay? It seems
You
like...
probably see a little bit of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see it in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, so that's just a a fun little.
Yeah. A lot of times they'll have etching. So is there music on there is
Yeah,
music on
there's
this
music.
side.
It's just
That's so crazy because a lot of times if there is an etching, there's
yeah,
nothing
there's
on
etching
it.
on both
It's
sides.
both sides.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm becoming like a QVC. I'm becoming like a QVC hand model.
Yeah, you're doing very well.
Thanks. That's great. I love it. No, split ends are great. I love Crowded House. I think I have most of Crowded House's stuff.
Oh, really?
Even through their, yeah. Because, I found a lot of their catalog just, at shows and for a decent amount. So,
And when I say down under, it's actually New Zealand,
New Zealand, not Australia. They probably get lumped in.
Yes,
A
they
lot.
get lumped in with everybody.
How about a little Creedence Clearwater Revival? This is a K-Tel pressing of the very best of CCR from Italy that I got at a show many, many years ago for $12. And I love the cover and the pictures of them on there. But I was looking at my CCR records, and I'm not sure I've brought the K-Tel record before, so I figured I'd give that one a chance.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It's a K-Tel pressing.
Does it sound okay?
It would be so long since I've listened to it.
Yeah.
But this came out in 1981. Traveling Band, Proud Mary, Have You Ever Seen the Rain, Hey Tonight, Up Around the Bend, Who'll Stop the Rain, Midnight Special, Sweet Hitchhiker, Looking Out of My Back Door. This says looking out of my back door. I think it's looking out my back door. Right?
Yeah, something in the translation.
The Italians have a different way of referring to it. Anyway, you know that there's plenty of drama from the band signing a terrible contract to, Tom Fogerty and John Fogerty fighting like brothers about songwriting credits. I think Tom sued John.
Oh, really?
And then, then dropped the suit. And, I think he died in 1983 or 84, the early 80s. And I don't think they ever made up. I think they tried to, but it never really stuck. But, instead of continuing to talk about the drama of these bands, because there's no shortage of that, I like to talk about the quality of the music. And, I mean, John Fogerty is just an amazing songwriter. To think how young he was and how great and how much those songs have stuck around.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. It's really a crazy thing to think about. But, they were obviously one of the first ones to pop to mind. But CCR, any of their records are great. Well, as long as it's an actual CCR record, not a Creedence Clearwater Revisited, which I think that was the guys other than John.
Yeah.
At one point. But yeah, man. How about some CCR? Go check them out, kids.
Nice.
What's next?
Next on my list is a little band from Cincinnati, Ohio, the National. So, although they're from Cincinnati, they were formed in New York and in 99, and the band consists of Matt Berenger, twin brothers Aaron Dressner and Bryce Dressner, as well as brothers. There's another set of brothers.
Oh, wow. Double.
Scott Devendorf and Brian Devendorf.
But only one set of twins.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, this is a twofer.
Yeah. Fraught with
yes.
the possibility of drama.
Yes, but they're still going strong. Mm-hmm. I saw, I think it was this tour, they were with Arcade Fire.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a show that was supposed to be outside, but it rained, so they moved it to the fairgrounds, inside, to the Coliseum.
At the Coliseum?
Yeah.
Cool.
Which the Coliseum is actually a pretty good place to see shows. Not a lot of shows come through there anymore because there's so many other venues.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad spot.
Keith and I are going there tonight to see the Beatles. It's the 60th anniversary of the Beatles playing at the Coliseum. They're playing the same set list and everything.
Really?
You want to go?
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Anywho, the National is kind of a more, I mean, it's not that contemporary. I mean, this is 99, right?
Yeah, that's when the band started.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
25 years. But they just seem like a young band to me.
Yeah,
because I'm an old dude.
they're still going strong. Their 9th studio album came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 pages of Frankenstein. I don't know what that means. But they've had
It's actually Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Nice. They've actually.
Oh, God.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Back that ass up.
It's saying. Oh. Well, although this band really formed in '99, Matt Berenger and Scott Devendorf met in '91 while attending the University of Cincinnati School of Design. So
Okay. Cool.
they the friendship was forged, and then the band became in '99.
Cool. I like the cover.
Yeah,
It looks like they're playing a wedding.
this album front to back is phenomenal.
Okay. Cool. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I like the way it looks.
And this is Boxer, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the one that really, I mean, if somebody points to the National's best album, this is it.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, look at you on the edge of what's cool, what the kids are listening to.
Well, this be the older kids. I don't know why, but this band just really resonated well with me. They have a lot of different orchestration and instruments going on at the same time.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to give them a chance.
Yeah.
There's, like we always say, there's always blind spots in your collection.
There's so much music out there.
All right.
You're up.
I'm up. I'm talking about Sister Sledge, We Are Family, right? It's the 3rd studio album by Sister Sledge, released in January 1979. The songs He's the Greatest Dancer, We Are Family, Lost in Music, and Thinking of You. We Are Family is one of 2 albums produced by Bernard Edwards and Nile Rodgers in 1979, the other being Chic's 3rd album, Risque, including the singles Good Times and My Forbidden Lover. Everybody knows We Are Family. If you've been to a wedding.
One wedding.
Yeah.
and
yeah.
You're going to hear this.
You've heard the song. But, the personnel in this, Kathy Sledge on lead vocals, Debbie Sledge, Joni Sledge, Kim Sledge, and then, Nile Rodgers on guitar, Bernard Edwards on bass, Tony Thompson on drums. If you've listened to Chic, you've heard that musicianship, that like pop funk. That's Sister Sledge, and they were great. And I just remember always loving female artists when I was a kid.
Yeah,
because they were kind of there were fewer of them, but as time has gone on, there have the female artists out there in every genre have just exploded, and I think it's great. It's just another perspective. All day long on the radio, most of the time you're going to hear music by men, and so when you hear that female voice or the blend of female voices, it always catches your ear.
Oh yeah.
So, and Nile Rodgers, man, he was a busy guy.
He was a busy guy
in the late 70s
and
early 80s.
I like that he didn't just keep his busyness to one band or one band name.
Yeah.
He was hopping all over the place.
Yeah, and even, recently with
Daft Punk, yeah.
Daft Punk, when he, that's a huge international, worldwide song. So he's managed to stay relevant in, many decades. But I always loved Sister Sledge, and they were another one, man. I've got a few of their records. I think I brought a couple. But they're another one. As soon as we talked about the sibling thing, I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
That's why, we don't talk about funk that much.
No, we don't.
We really should. We should do a funky show.
A funky show.
I think so. What's your next funky vinyl?
My next funky vinyl, I'm going to stay in Ohio, but I'm going a little north of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I'm going up to Akron.
Akron. I know who you're talking about.
Devo.
Oh, no.
It's Devo.
It is Devo.
And much like the National, maybe it's a thing with Ohio.
There's two sets of brothers.
Two sets of brothers.
The Mother's Boss.
The Mother's Boss
And
the Casellis,
Yeah. Yeah.
along with old Alan Myers. Poor Alan. He just gets lumped in with all the...
Odd Man Out.
Yeah.
He's probably a cousin.
Yeah, and did you know that Whip It was a Billboard number 14 on the Billboard charts
Was it?
in 1980?
What a strange song.
Yeah, it's strange. I would have been surprised. I'm kind of surprised to hear that it made it to number 14.
Yeah, but, I kind of look at Devo's music in the same vein as Talking Heads, and it's like anti-pop,
Absolutely.
Excuse me. Not put together the way a lot of other pop songs are.
Very true.
Certainly doesn't sound like it. And for some reason in my head, Talking Heads and Devo always kind of operated on the same plane.
Yeah, the same wavelength for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And Devo started in 73. And I don't think they really, really took off until they played on SNL in the yellow suits.
Did they play I Can't Get No Satisfaction?
Yeah, I think that was 76 or 7.
Yeah. What a strange band. But, now Mark Mothersbaugh is a composer and does music for TV and film. I mean, he's so great. And I think the band is actually still...
Yeah, they still do stuff, just not that much.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll do limited shows.
Yeah. But that's a great one, man. I love the potatoes.
Yeah, I've always dug their sound.
Yeah.
And a lot of these, this is very reminiscent. It reminds me of like a Gary Newman album a lot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Gary Newman albums would have all the lyrics on the back
Yeah.
and the
And
songs.
the strange portraits.
Yeah, and the strange portrait.
Devo is a national treasure, man.
Yes, they are.
Absolutely. That's a good one. Which of their records is this?
Oh No, It's Devo came out in 82.
Oh, okay.
So it's right in the middle of the catalog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their first album came out in 78.
Mm-hmm.
Are We Not Men?
Yes.
Then Duty Now for the Future, 79. Freedom of Choice in 80. New Traditionalists in 81. Then Oh No, It's Devo
Man,
in
they
82.
were busy.
Well, yeah, they basically, for those 5 years, from 78 to 82, they released an album a year.
That's pretty crazy. That's prodigious,
Yes, it is.
even. Well, that's great, man. I'm not sure I have any Devo. I have a Devo CD. I have Adventures of the Smart Patrol CD, which is...
It's a collection of some sort.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I don't have any other stuff on vinyl. And it's kind of weird. You'll see their records pop up at... Sorry, there's something in the studio. You'll see their stuff pop up at shows, and then you won't see it for a while. And then you'll see it again. It's kind of weird to just kind of see an artist cycle through. But that's a great one.
I had a guy on eBay was selling like a 4-album set.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And you never know when you buy stuff on eBay.
Yeah.
I mean, one person's idea of near mint and another
Yeah.
are two totally different
Oh, yeah.
things. But this stuff showed up and it was in great shape. I
That's
mean, the
awesome.
albums were in great. I mean, I'm more worried always about albums
Mm-hmm.
than jackets
Yeah.
because I want the music to sound good and play
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And it all sounded wonderful.
That's great.
So-
Awesome.
Take a chance on eBay if you see something you really want and it's a good price.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of bundles on eBay.
Mhm.
That's the fun thing.
Yeah. I don't really do eBay that much. I
Oh,
don't,
really?
Yeah. I need to check into
There's
it.
some treasures to be found.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to talk about my favorite. I just saw Sammy and Joe Satriani and Michael Anthony, and it was supposed to be Jason Bonham, but he had to go back to Great Britain because his mom's sick. So Kenny Aronoff jumped in and played drums.
Kenny can fill in for anybody.
On the last three shows of the tour, Kenny jumped in and played. And it was great. The weather was perfect. It was a little warm. And there weren't that many Dave era songs done. And I knew that. I'm not one of those people that likes to go out and seek out set lists.
Yeah.
I like to be surprised. But it was almost all Sammy era Van Halen.
Well, you would expect that.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is, this band, I was alive at the time when this band was active and touring, and I had the opportunity to see them many times. So a show like that is very nostalgic for me because it just makes me, think of in 1986 when I'm 12 and I saw them for the first time, and we're never going to be able to see them again. There's never going to be another. Likely, this tour may get extended, or they may do it next summer
because
too.
it's getting rave reviews.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody I know who saw that show is just like over the moon.
Yeah. But anyway, Fair Warning is my favorite Van Halen Dave era album, and I've always loved the artwork here. This is my newer version of this that I think these came out maybe in 16, and they're 180 gram, and the artwork on this I've always loved. It's just different, and it's the album itself is just like a darker version of Van Halen.
Okay.
A kind of grittier, darker.
Is that why it's your favorite?
I love the guitar on this. Mean Street opens it up, and he has like a 1.5-minute intro to that song that's infamous, and it's fantastic. And yeah, because they're typically like a party band, right? Singing about their wangs and girls. And this one just is more, there's more going on.
Yeah,
upstairs.
more gritty rock and roll.
Yeah. Deeper.
Yeah.
I mean, most of their music is probably about puddle deep, but this is just a little bit more. And like I said, it's not one that comes to people's mind first, like guitarists really like this record.
Yeah.
But, in a pretty small catalog of music, there's some great stuff in there with Van Halen. So that's my favorite. And obviously the brothers, Van Halen. And speaking of brothers, Alex Van Halen's book comes out later in late September, and it's about growing up with Eddie and their career together. So, yeah. So that's why I wanted to mention Van Halen.
And they always seem to have a pretty amicable relationship.
Oh yeah, it was like the brothers against everybody else.
Yeah.
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 And their family came, their mother was Asian, their dad was Dutch. They came from the Netherlands to the US to California. So they were outcasts, I guess, as kids. And their dad was a classic clarinetist, I believe. And they both played piano, and Eddie couldn't read music on piano, but he played by ear. So he would learn how to play the songs without reading the music, which is crazy. But yeah, they are definitely like the tightest. There hasn't been like that, at least publicly, that struggle between them.
Yeah.
But between them and other people.
Yeah, they were
that's where the struggle was.
That was the struggle.
It was the brothers against David
everybody
Lee Roth
else.
and Sammy, and so it's a different perspective.
Yeah, but that's good. We gotta have
covering all the bases.
Yeah, we're covering it all.
Okay, what's next on yours?
Well,
brother,
how about a little Jesus and Mary Chain?
I love this cover, man.
And they're a Scottish alternative band.
Mm-hmm. Sorry,
formed in '83.
It's weird when we do these shows. I'm sure it annoys Jacob. or Keith, whoever, it's Jacob directing today, but like you put a record down in front of me and I immediately want to grab it.
I immediately
You know what
want
I
to
mean?
grab it. Yeah.
Isn't that strange? There's like a magnetism to the vinyl. Maybe that's why I continue, just throwing money at it, because it's just sucking me in.
Yeah, it's sucking you in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't get out.
So Jesus and Mary chain.
Yeah, Jim and William Reed are the two founding brothers and members of the band that have been around since it started.
That's cool.
And they've had they fall into like shoegaze or noise pop, and it's a different sound.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit. There's a little bit more going on with. It's like pop with feedback guitar. I think is the easiest way to describe it.
Yeah, that's good.
But they've had 12 top 40 entries and 2 top 10 hits in the UK singles chart. I mean, they've made some inroads in the US, but they're more a UK band.
Yeah. And it is kind of crazy how certain bands from different parts of the world, how they do in different parts of the world. You know what I mean? It's so interesting, because like when we did the Australian bands show, most of those bands are pretty popular here too. Most of the ones that he mentioned, at least have translated to other places.
They released a single on an independent label, and then kind of replaced a member, probably the brothers saying, hey, you got to go. We need somebody else. And signed a big label, and Psycho Candy was their first kind of.
I love the album title, and I love the visual here.
It's very 60s.
It is.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like White Stripes before White Stripes.
Yeah, to come out in '85 with something that looks very 60s. I mean, in the '80s, where's all the psychedelic colors and the
fluorescent
neon?
colors?
Yeah, there's none.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a great point. Definitely against the grain. What was
their big? Let's see, their big hit on this album, probably April Skies. Let's see, their biggest hit, Upside Down.
Okay. Yeah.
Just Like Honey. Sorry.
Just Like Honey. Okay.
Just Like Honey. That's.
Okay. Is that on here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it reached number 45.
And it starts, side 1 is Just Like Honey. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear of them, but certainly not like you hear of other bands from that era. They're kind of a little under the radar.
Yeah, and this is the band, remember, Nick Light told us about.
Oh, yeah.
They had like a pig's head.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they just left it.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't remember the details, but...
Yeah, that's the episode with Nick Light from
Sony. Yeah.
Sony.
When he was basically a stagehand.
Yeah, in New York City.
In New York.
Oh, we'll have to revisit that.
Yeah.
That's a cool one, man. Excellent. I like it.
You're up.
I'm going to talk about some more sisters. How about the Pointer Sisters? There was a point, no pun intended, there was a point in the 80s when the Pointer Sisters were just everywhere. So this is Pointer Sisters Breakout, and it's aptly named because this came out November 1, 1983 on Planet Records from RCA Records. And they mention it's like electro dance tunes. It's kind of like R&B, electric R&B, a little less rhythm and blues, and maybe a little more on the dance side of things. But they had 5 singles from this. And this album actually ended up selling like 3 million copies. So this is indeed their breakout record.
Hence the name.
Yeah.
Breakout.
Yeah. So I Need You, Automatic, which was a huge song. It was all over the radio at this time. I was 10. I was carrying like a sound design radio around
You had
with a
your
cassette player.
Your
in it.
boom box. You
My
didn't put it
boombox.
on your shoulder. You just
I
carried
did, but I didn't want the repetitive stress of holding it on my shoulder. So usually the posse needs to get a radio carrier. I never found one. Anyway, Automatic was the big one. Jump for My Love, and then Neutron Dance. Yeah.
Neutron Dance. Yeah.
And they had a hit with the song "I'm So Excited." Too. The Pointers had accumulated 3 earlier top 10 hits over 12-year recording career. Let me find my place. Neutron Dance was actually featured on the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, and its 5th single and 4th consecutive top 10 hit, reaching number 6 on the Hot 100 in February of 1985. I just always loved the Pointer Sisters, man. I love the way their voices sounded together.
They have a great sound.
Yeah. And so, it's kind of on the edge of like the funk kind of thing, but more the pop side of that. And when you think about it, in the 80s, for a trio of black sisters to have hits is pretty crazy. I mean, a lot of the female groups kind of made inroads in the mid to late 60s. But then, in the 80s, you had them. You had Sister Sledge that we've talked about. You had Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, Olivia Newton-John. I mean, there were Joan Jett. There were a lot of female artists back then, but that you just didn't hear them as much. And
right.
the Pointer Sisters, kind of, you really heard them in the early to mid 80s. And I love it. This is definitely an 80s, they've kind of got their 80s wardrobe on.
Yeah, it's got the full 80s look.
Yeah, the light blue and
You're
purple.
not going to miss it.
No, it's very cool. And HEB owned this at one time.
Good job, HEB.
Yeah. What's your next one? I don't even know how many we've done.
Well, it's a good time to talk about another sibling rivalry. The Kinks.
Yeah.
And maybe next to Oasis and the Robinson Brothers, this is the one that really
gets talked about a lot.
Yeah, because there have been documentaries about people trying to get the band back together. I mean, they're not going to get back together now.
Yeah, Ray Davies and Dave Davis.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Kinks, we've talked about them before. We've mentioned them. They are like the most off-center,
yes,
band from the 60s.
Yes, they were part of the whole the whole rhythm and blues Mercy Beat British Invasion.
Yeah, but they were just different.
They were different. They were always kind of the outsiders looking in.
Yeah, left of center.
Yeah.
Like You Really Got Me.
Yeah.
All Day and All the Night. I mean, they had these great hits, and which You Really Got Me, Van Halen.
That was their 3rd single.
Was it?
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, they just, even when you hear them now, to kind of be contemporaries of the bands that they were, but to sound as distinctive as they do, that's cool. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah. And they pretty much stayed together as a band until they weren't a band. I mean, in 97, they really pretty much were the same band. There wasn't like a couple of guys, branching off and performing as the Kinks. They were the Kinks from 63 to 97.
Yeah. And Ray Davis, still out there. He did 2 records where the Jayhawks were his backing band. I don't know if I've talked about that before.
Yeah, they've done independent stuff.
Mm-hmm. Individually, they've put stuff out. Yeah.
But
they just can't get out of their own way. And I don't know a lot of the drama there. I don't know what. I'm sure we could guess a few things.
Yeah.
Probably some sibling rivalry, some jealousy, someone thinking they don't get credit. That old trope. You can just say it's, there's some known dissension in the Kinks, and, maybe it's a good thing that there's not a lot of information on it. It's between them and the people who would love for them to do a reunion and play together again.
Yeah, and the Kinks were inducted into the Hall of Fame in '90.
Yep.
Which deservedly so.
Yeah, absolutely. They just, it's them.
They were a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Which I agree.
Yeah.
They should be.
Absolutely. But it's like I said, there's certain bands, like another one that I think of that as soon as you hear them, you know who it is the Zombies.
Yeah.
You hear the Zombies, you know it's them. You hear the Kinks, you know it's them. They've just got a distinctive guitar sound and a distinctive vocal sound that makes them, kind of sets them apart.
Yeah, I think the Kinks, for being around and playing for 4 decades,
Yeah.
they didn't really change their sound at all.
I brought a collection too. This is 1964 to 70, the best of the Kinks, and it's great.
That'd be a good one to have.
Yeah, yeah.
Because some of this earlier stuff is not like this is a collection too. It's on reprise.
Yeah. Sunny Afternoons on here. Then You Really Got Me, All Day and All the Night, Tired of Waiting for You. Yeah. I mean, Ape Man, it ends up with Ape Man. Lola, of course, is on here on the second side. So they're a good one, man.
Yeah, the Kinks.
How about another group with some sisters? Heart. This is their eponymously titled, self-titled 8th studio album. Came out in 1985. This continued the band's transition into mainstream rock. And they had some enormous songs on this record. So 5 singles. What About Love? Huge. Never, another huge single. These Dreams, extremely big single. Nothing at All, and then If Looks Could Kill. So 5. You remember the days when bands had that many singles off of an album? It's crazy. They've had a love-hate relationship with this album because they brought in co-writers on the songs. And they were just a little more polished sounding, a little more pop based as opposed to the kind of guitar oriented stuff that Heart had kind of become known for. And you can tell they're fully into the, hey, we're the
welcome to the 80s.
We're Prince's stunt doubles.
Yeah.
But it's great music. They are hits. I mean, that's the thing. So they had outside writers and then they had huge hits with these songs. So that's the struggle for them is, do we give that part of our career a lot of attention or no? So, yeah. And then, much of the same on the back. I mean, they're a very pretty band.
Yeah. Well, and I think, with all the overproduction in the 80s, a lot of bands kind of are not happy with it, but I'm sure they're happy with the way their music sold.
Yeah. Yeah. This, like I said, this gave them their greatest commercial success.
That's amazing that this was their greatest commercial success.
Yeah. It topped the Billboard Top 200 and their only album to do that. And it's quintuple platinum. So 5 times platinum. Ann Wilson in 2022 said that the album was self-titled because the band didn't write a whole lot of the songs on there. So that aspect of closeness with the work was gone. And it was much harder for us to come up with a title that was real. Okay.
Yeah, they're really not happy with it at all.
I mean, how can you sell 5 million copies of an album and with your name on it and your image?
Yeah.
And your voice and your guitar playing and everything. What a complicated relationship they must have with that. But I love Heart. I love all the different eras of them. When they play Led Zeppelin, they sound awesome. I mean, they're from Seattle,
Yeah.
so they're kind of one of the bands that all the Seattle bands look up to,
Yeah. They're
as kind of a trailblazing.
the godmothers.
Yeah, yeah. So Heart, self-titled.
Nice.
I like it.
Next on the hit parade, kind of an unusual band. I've talked about them before, but I really love this band, and they're from New York, Parquet Courts, and it consists of Andrew Savage, Austin Brown, Max Savage on drums. Andrew Savage is on vocals and guitar, and Sean Yeaton on bass and vocals.
Cool.
And they met in, Andrew Savage and Austin Brown met in Denton, Texas, while at the University of North Texas. And they just kind of became friends in a musical group. And it just took off from there. They were in some other bands. And
when did you hear about them? I mean, did you hear about them on NPR?
No, I was listening to, there used to be a lot of independent streaming services, and it was I can't remember what this one was called, but there was somebody on this streaming service, and she played it, and she did like a dive bar jukebox music, which
cool.
is right up my alley. I mean, it checks every box, and so she played them on that, and I'm like, wow, it's one of those that you're like, I got to write this one down.
Yeah, it's cool to discover stuff like that. You know, to get excited about something that you were completely unaware of. I feel like I'm that way with that country band Midland. I mean, I've become obsessed with them, and it's crazy to find something like that you're that excited about. I mean, you know, it's cool. It's
when
cool
it doesn't show up on any of your radars, but you hear it and you're like, ooh, I really like this.
Yeah, it's like a little surprise from the universe, right?
And then you just got to ferret out everything you can with them.
Yeah.
So they started, their first release came out on a limited edition cassette in 2011.
Oh, okay.
They've been a band since 2010.
Okay.
And it's funny, you know, I love the genres. I love when we see different genres.
Yeah.
They check a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
Indie rock, post-punk, art punk, garage punk.
Okay. So a lot of punk.
And they are, for sure, talk singers. For sure, talk singers. They have a song, I think the first song I heard was Stoned and Starving.
Yeah.
And it's, I'll play it for you sometime. But it's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. No, you know, it's hard to listen outside of like your, I don't want to say comfort zone, but outside of like, you know, you just want to hear what you want to hear. But sometimes you need to push that envelope a little bit and step outside of what you normally listen to.
Yeah, they're still playing and touring, and they between February and March of 2022, they headlined a North American tour with a Nigerian Afro-funk psychedelic guitarist, Modu Mokhtar, as the opening act.
Oh, okay.
So they're different.
It's too bad we missed that show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
Yeah. Kind of like the opening act for David Byrne.
Yeah. Yeah. That was way different.
Performance art.
Yeah, so they have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 albums.
Cool. Well, we'll have to give them a listen.
Yes.
I'll put that on my list. We should make we should do a show on.
Is this one on Rough Trade? Yeah, finding the label is near to impossible.
What's your rupture? Doesn't look like.
Oh,
rupture.
yeah, I see it here. What's your rupture?
Yep.
So yeah, they were bouncing around a couple labels, but they're now their last 5 have been on Rough Trade.
Okay. Yeah. WYR.
Yeah. What's your rupture?
Cool, man. I like this. Almost looks like one of the ghosts from Pac-Man.
It does, and a lot of their albums are very herky jerky on the art. It almost looks like one of the members
DIY. Like
does
they drew it with a marker on the bus.
spends a little bit of time in the bedroom designing album covers.
That's cool. Oh boy. Well, how can we talk about brothers and sisters without talking about the Doobies?
Oh, that's a good one.
You know, the Doobies may not actually have brothers in them, but they are Doobie brothers. They're bound by Doobies, right? Shadoobie. Shattered. Anyone? Anyway, the best of the
Of the booties.
I think we just came up with our new band name, the Booty Brothers.
Booty Brothers.
Or the Booby Brothers.
There we go.
So this is the first greatest hits album by the Doobies.
This thing's kind of like the Eagles' greatest hits.
Oh, yeah.
It's, I don't know how many times platinum it is, but it's several.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it was released October 1976. You know, China Grove, Long Train Running, Taking It to the Streets, Listen to the Music, Blackwater, Rocking Down the Highway, Jesus Is Just All Right, It Keeps You Running, Take Me in Your Arms, Without You. I mean, we saw them at another corporate show they performed at. And
they were so tight.
Was that in Indy?
I can't remember if
I think it might have been that last year that it was in Indy.
It may have been in Indy.
Oh, but we went, and it's like they start playing, and then every song is a damn hit. And then you're like 10, 15 songs in going, do they really have this many hits? You kind of forget.
How many hits?
And, you know, with all the eras of the band.
Yeah. And then they are so tight. I was just, you know, what else would you expect, I guess? But
yeah, their vocals, their harmonies are great. You know, Tom Johnston and Michael McDonald. I think when we saw them, Michael was not with them.
Maybe that was it.
But on this reunion tour, the 50th anniversary tour, I think that's what they've been doing. Both Tom Johnson and Michael McDonald are on it. So that seems, even though they aren't brothers, there seems to be some drama there.
There's some drama, but like we've talked throughout the show.
Every band.
Yeah, when money's involved, you can put drama on the lower floor for a little bit.
It's not show friends, it's show business.
Yes.
I've always loved the cover of this too.
Oh,
it has
yeah.
That diner
jukebox.
Remote jukebox.
I would love to have one of those.
Like at your kitchen table?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. And here they are on the back.
That's nice.
Yeah. So, you know, everybody knows the Doobies. We don't need to belabor it, but it's just they have a lot of hits. And there's a second version of this, and I think that there's a version that combines, like Eagles did, that combines the volume 1 and 2.
Oh, nice.
As a double.
That'd be a good one to have in the collection.
Yes, it would. What's next?
All right.
I need to find out what number we're on now.
I think this is 9, I believe. So next is Radiohead.
You're right.
Okay. Computer. And really, if somebody's seeking out Radiohead, I say give this one a listen.
Yeah.
This is a good starting point.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, like Creep is on a different album.
Yeah.
But this is more traditional Radiohead and what they became. And they're, of course, the good old genre, art rock, alternative rock, electronica, experimental rock, art pop. I think electronica is the best way to pigeonhole them.
Yeah. No, they loom large.
They're
for sure.
Yeah.
When did Creep come out? Was that like 98, 97?
Let's see. We will find that out in a second.
Oh, okay.
The band started in 85, and they're still performing.
Yeah.
And, of course, everybody knows Tom York, the lead singer. The brothers in the band are Johnny Greenwood, guitarist, keyboardist, and Colin Greenwood on bass.
That's great.
So let's see. Creep was on the Bends in 95.
95. Man, that's been a long time ago.
Yeah, and their initial release was Pablo Honey in 93 on good old EMI.
Good old EMI Records. Yeah, Radiohead is a blind spot for me. I Creep, everybody knows that song, but that's not typical of
it's
most of their
it's
music.
funny because that's the song that everybody knows, but it's not even close to what Radiohead is now.
Right. Now, I need to give them a listen. I've never noticed that this says Lost Child up here.
Yeah.
Interesting. And this is, I think I saw the actual picture that this is based on. Somebody
it's like a negative of the original picture.
No, but they march to their own beat. There's no doubt about it.
They do, for sure. And it's, for me, they're a lot like Pink Floyd. It's good music to have on in the background when you're writing or
getting work done.
Yeah, getting work done. It's just a great, because it's not something you're going to stand up and dance to and sing along with. It's just good thinking music.
Is it something that you're going to like walk around with a dress shirt, pantsless, socks, sunglasses, and a candlestick and singing into it, sliding around? No? Okay.
No.
What movie is that from? That's the Tom Cruise Old Time Rock and Roll.
Yes.
What movie is that? What a waste of time. I just had the image of you doing that one.
But I had a TV on my head.
Now we have to recreate that. Like an empty TV?
Yeah, for CD, remember that?
Oh my gosh. I forgot about that. Oh.
I'll have to post those.
Yeah, let's see those. Oh my God. Anyway, no, Radiohead has cleared their own path for sure.
Absolutely.
They have swept up a big old audience and taken them on a journey for sure.
And it's not like they don't put out a lot of music, but and they even had one, I think, Hail to the Thief. It was when digital was really becoming a thing, and
that's right.
And they said, pay what you want.
Yeah.
It was.
I forgot that they did that. Yeah, what an interesting.
Which is now, but I mean, Hail to the Thief, you can buy on vinyl now for, their stuff is never super cheap.
No.
I mean, if you find something for under $40,
get it. Yeah. That's cool, man. That's a good one. Yeah. They're another one on the list of bands I need to really kind of dig into.
It's very atmospheric music.
Okay. Huh.
It's, I'm not sure it appeals to everybody.
Right.
I hear them on XM radio on the SMU channel occasionally.
Yeah.
But that's probably the only channel that would ever.
What's SMU?
It's like college radio.
Oh, okay. Huh.
It's probably the only channel that would really probably play radio. Well, aside from Creep, which is going to show up on any 90s channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of strange for them to take hold, right in the middle of the grunge era. Yeah. And then just veer off into their own thing.
Yeah, because they got a lot more atmospheric and less like the
pop.
Yeah.
Definitely not a lot of pop in there.
No.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's a good one. I'm glad you brought it.
Yes.
So,
Radiohead.
We cannot talk about brothers without talking about the young brothers from AC/DC. This is Highway to Hell. I have not opened this version of this yet because remember I had a regular version. This is the 50th anniversary version that you could get at Walmart that is on gold vinyl.
Ooh.
But somehow in doing the show, I've talked about Highway to Hell a couple times, and I lost my copy of Highway to Hell.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Did you ever look for it in your stuff? Because it could have.
I have it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a newer copy from probably 5 or 6 years ago that I can't find anywhere.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
That's strange.
Yeah, and it's right at the beginning of the alphabet. Anyway, I can't buy all of these, but I love the gold vinyl idea and the round hype sticker, even though it is bullshit and round. it's cool because it's got 8 Angus on there. Anyway, this is their 6th studio album. This is the last studio album with Bon Scott. This is them just right on the precipice of being enormous international rock stars. And it's always been a favorite of mine. I love the cover. We've got Highway to Hell is one of the singles. Girls Got Rhythm and Touch Too Much. This, produced by Mutt Lange. They kind of came to America, and they were one of those bands that opened for a lot of bands. And, they just did it the old-fashioned way, and up, and they've done it that same way. Even though personnel has changed, obviously it's a big deal to lose somebody like Bon Scott, have Brian Johnson come in and record one of the biggest selling albums ever. It's just crazy. But, Malcolm Young passed away a few years ago. It's Angus, their nephew, Stevie, taking Malcolm's place. And, they're still going. They just did a European tour. I'm surprised they haven't announced American dates. It's interesting.
And maybe they'll take a break over the winter, and then next year they'll do.
Yeah, they could do that. But, you cannot talk about important brothers in popular music and leave Malcolm and
you
Angus
can't leave out AC/DC.
Yeah, so that's Highway to Hell, kids. Put this one on and crank it up to 11. What's your
You'll enjoy
last
it.
one, John?
Speaking of cranking it up, how about a little band from Ann Arbor, Michigan?
Oh my gosh,
The Stooges.
Such a good record.
Yeah.
I've always loved the cover of this too.
Iggy Pop, Ron Ashton, Scott Ashton, and Dave Alexander. They played raw, primitive rock and roll, and they were formed in '67. And
Detroit.
they, I think some of their first shows were with the MC5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
And I mean, as popular, they were garage rock. They were punk before punk became a thing. They were funny. They would go through periods of being a band. So 67 to 71, then they kind of broke up. 72 to 74. And one of the Ashtons died, and then 2003 to 2016, they've done some shows.
Yeah, it's, that's lightning in a bottle kind of
Yeah,
stuff, right?
they really they had a sound that was sonic like no one else, and it's funny their sound has been compared to the Kinks, another set of, that we talked about earlier.
I think they're a little more raw than the
Oh,
Kinks.
for sure.
Maybe a heavier,
Yeah.
more unhinged kind of.
But just to hear that comparison, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. They, I don't know, man. Very, very much originators. When you hear the Stooges,
Yeah.
who it is. There's no ambiguity for sure.
No, none whatsoever. And Iggy's name is James Newell Osterberg.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was after seeing an MC5 show, he went with the name Iggy Pop.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Because I think they kind of called him Pop.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. No, Iggy is still going strong, man. He's in and of himself, for sure. But those first two Stooges records are great, man.
Are great. I've always loved the cover of this.
Yeah, it is reminiscent of the Doors.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the Doors.
Yeah. And then there's another portrait of the 4 of them on the back.
And you know why it's reminiscent of the Doors? Because it's on Elektra, the Doors label.
Yep.
So I bet the same photographer took both pictures.
Yeah, probably. Huh. That's a good point. That's a good one, man. That's a good one to end on. The Stooges just don't get enough love.
No.
I mean, we've talked about them a few times.
Yeah, but they are just a phenomenal band.
Yeah. Just, one of those bands that you think back and you listen to it now and you're like, oh man, I wonder what it was like to hear that for the first time.
Well, and they, a lot like poor Elektra, because a lot like the Doors, the Stooges had this reputation for these crazy live shows.
Yeah.
You never knew what Iggy was going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. That's awesome, man. I love it. It's a good one.
The Stooges.
Well, I want to talk about the Brothers Johnson.
Ooh.
We were listening to a little of the Brothers Johnson before the show, and this is right on time. This is their second album from Los Angeles, California-based duo, the Brothers Johnson. Released in 1977, it peaked at number 2 on the R&B albums chart and number 13 on the pop albums chart in the U.S. It includes the number 1 R&B song, Strawberry Letter, and it's also a winner of a Grammy Award in 1978 for
Nice.
Best R&B Instrumental Performance. I just love, I don't know why, I've always loved funk. And it's kind of funny that we don't talk about it more than we do. I mean, I don't have a lot, but years ago, Bill, friend of the show, Bill Hayes, brought me, he got a collection of records from someone in Atlanta, I think on Facebook Marketplace, and just brought them by my house one day. So there's just a bunch of funk. Whole bunch of funk. I should do an album called A Whole Bunch of Funk.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. But Brothers Johnson are great, man, guitarists. And they you don't hear about them that often.
No,
And-
there's a lot of soul, R&B, and funk bands that are made up of siblings.
Right.
I mean,
right.
we didn't even talk about Sly and the Family Stone.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It just
and-
goes on and on.
I think this might have been produced by Quincy Jones. Of course, I don't see that here. In a retrospective review, AllMusic's Stephen Cook credited Quincy Jones for producing a seamless mix of pop and funk.
There you go.
Produced and arranged by Quincy for Quincy
Quincy.
Jones.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Quincy knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
The work he did with Michael, I think he knew what he was doing. But I don't think you hear about Brothers Johnson that often, and that's why I
No.
wanted to bring it. I have
That's good.
3 of their records. Give them a listen. I'm just starting to want to listen to more of that, like P-Funk type stuff too.
Yeah.
I need to bring that into my listening zone. I haven't listened to a lot of records lately.
Really?
Yeah, have you?
I listened to quite a few yesterday.
Did you? That's cool. That's great. Well, we love going through our collections and finding these little things, these siblings this week on the show. But we want more ideas from you about shows that we can do in the future. Also, new releases, box sets that you'd like to see us unbox. We haven't done those for a while. So if you have any ideas, let us know. Let us know on YouTube. Let us know on the social medias. Talk to us. Comment on all the videos that are out there already. And tell us if you have any ideas for shows.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Give us your list.
Yeah, give us your list, some of your favorite sibling bands. We like this to be a two-way conversation between us that do the show and you guys that are nice enough to watch it. So thanks for coming along with us this week. That is Wheels. I'm Jay, and we'll see you all the next time around.
It's a final adventure.